Long before a garment makes its appearance on the runway, or in store or online, the design begins as a sketch. Fashion sketching propels the designer's ideas from conceptualization to realization of product. Many are intimidated by the art of fashion sketching and the final image they wish to create, but do not feel overwhelmed. Every sketch starts with just one line. Hello and a warm welcome to Lesson 5 of your Diploma in Fashion Design. I am so glad to see all of you back in my virtual classroom, and I hope you are excited to explore the fabulous world of fashion with me. In Lesson 1, we looked at the following basic drawing techniques: line, hatching, and smudging. Today we are going to apply those techniques to new drawing techniques that will help you communicate your design more successfully to the viewer. Our lesson objectives for today are to explore and differentiate between different drawing techniques, to explore different mediums and using those mediums to render different textiles to bring your design to life. You will also be introduced to the fashion croquis and how to design using a croquis template. This will be a very practical lesson, so before we start, let us go through what you will need for this lesson. You will first need your sketchbook. If you do not have one yet, any piece of paper will do. Also grab a pencil, fine liners, and any other coloring mediums you have. A pencil sharpener and eraser should always be close by. As we are all aspiring fashion designers here, I recommend you invest in a sketchbook as soon as possible. It will really inspire and guide you during your design process and this course. I just want you to know that one does not need to be able to draw well to design clothes. You can make all of these techniques your own and draw how it comes naturally to you. Especially in fashion illustration, there are no rules. Actually, there is one rule: to have fun with it. All clothing has design details on it. Otherwise, it would not be a garment. It is important to remember that these design details, especially when drawn on a body, are curved. It is curved because, well, we are curved. Our bodies are soft and round. To list all the design details will take forever, so today we will look at the most used design details and how to draw them. A garment is made up of seams holding all the different fabric pieces together. It is important to note that there are two different types of seams: functional seams and style lines. Functional seams serve a purpose for your garment, like giving it shape and allowing the garment to move with your body. Side seams, shoulder seams, and darts are all examples of functional seams. With the incorporation of these seams, a piece of fabric turns into a garment. Decorative seams, more commonly referred to as style lines, are seams that do not serve a function, but are incorporated into a garment to make it unique. Any kind of style line, like princess style line, semi-princess lines, cutouts, color blocking, or design details like pleating or gathers, are examples of style lines. As a new designer, it is important to explore all the different kinds of design details like different necklines and sleeve types to allow you to be as creative as possible during the design process. We are going to look at a few, starting with necklines. First is the sweetheart, which in this case is also an example of a strapless neckline. This is very popular in formal wear like evening gowns and wedding dresses. Do you remember when we spoke about line and how it can create an illusion? Horizontal lines across the chest, like a strapless neckline, makes the wearer look wider in the bust area. Next, we have the V neckline, a style that elongates the chest and neck, and then the classic scoop neckline, a very popular t-shirt cut. The illusion neckline is also a very popular evening and wedding dress neckline. Then we have the off-the-shoulder neckline and asymmetric neckline. Both of these make use of diagonal lines, which creates movement and guides the eye to a certain area of the body, in this case towards the bust and the waist. The cowl neck is a very feminine neckline and can also be used at the back of a dress to create a draped low back. Then we have the square neckline and the high neckline. You can get different high necklines like a polo neck or a funnel. Collars. On this slide, you can see a variety of different collars, like the classic tailored collar we see on shirts, the Peter Pan collar, which is very popular among vintage lovers, and the Mandarin collar. Then we have the convertible collar. The Chelsea collar makes me think of a sailor. Do you agree? Lastly, we have the shawl collar, a very popular collar used in jerseys and coats. I would say this is definitely a winter collar. When drawn, collars curve around the neck. Remember this when you are designing. Sleeves. Yes, sleeveless is a type of sleeve. It is a bit strange when you think about it. Then we have the cap sleeve that just covers the shoulder, and the cuff sleeve is a long sleeve with a cuff at the end. Tailored shirts always have a sleeve with a cuff, as it is quite a professional look. The bishop sleeve is one of my favorites. All of its volume is at the cuff. The raglan sleeve does not have an armhole. As you can see in the image, the sleeve flows out of the neckline. This is a great example of a structural seam that also has decorative purposes. We often see this kind of sleeve in sportswear. Then, another personal favorite is the puff sleeve. This sleeve is usually gathered at the top and the cuff, which creates the fullness that we see. When drawing sleeves, remember that the hem of the sleeve curve around the arm. Waistbands. A regular waistband is just a straight waistband. This is the most common kind of waistband. The next waistband is a contour or curved waistband. This is more flattering and mostly used in women's clothing. Our next example is the casing waistband. The image is an example of a drawstring casing, but can also be an elastic casing. When drawing waistbands, it is usually drawn with a slight curve around the waist or the hips. Volume. There are many ways to create volume in a garment, like frills, pleats, gathers, shirring, flare, and layering fabric. When drawing in volume, follow the steps below. Draw your basic shape. It can be a dress, sleeve, or a detail like a frill. First, draw the horizontal movement line. There are a few ways to create this line depending on the kind of movement you want. If you want soft folds, use organic shapes like these little shapes I have drawn here. On the edges of your shape, extend a vertical line. These become your folds or your pleats. So always horizontal line first vertical lines second. If you want sharp folds to imitate a stiff fabric or accordion or knife pleats, use zigzag shapes to create movement hemline. As you can see, I'm adding in lines inside of the little shapes. These are where the fabric folds. You can see these folds, and when added into your design, it makes it look much more realistic. Another way to draw soft pleats is to alternate between, I would call these soft W's and N's. Follow the same steps, add in the vertical movement lines, and the little fold lines. You can see, compared to the first way of drawing volume, this looks fuller and a little bit softer. The last way is to draw little smiles without the eyes, leaving spaces in between. Add your vertical movement lines, creating your folds. And after that, draw in little upside down sad smiley faces. I recommend you play with this a little bit and get used to the different shapes. As you study clothing more, you will start paying closer attention to the way the fabric behaves and pick up how wrinkles or folds form where the fabric collapses. You will also notice movement in relation to the figure and how tension or force causes changes in folds. When starting to draw folds, it is important for you to look out for the areas of tension or force that create these folds or wrinkles. Some of the most common folds and wrinkles are: compression wrinkles are caused by tension or force created by a moving body part, like an arm, elbow, or knee. These folds are a combination of pipe, hanging, zigzag, and spiral folds. Pipe folds usually have one point or multiple points of single support and are caused when a piece of fabric hangs freely. The folds resemble pipes or tubes, hence the name. Hanging or diaper folds have 2 points of support, creating a draped effect in between these points, causing a pull. These folds gradually get longer until there is only 1 point of support, creating a pipe fold. A cowl neckline, like the one in the image, is an example of where hanging folds will appear. Because we are not two-dimensional beings, when we wear clothing, it will fold and fall in different ways. Drawing in fabric folds and the draping of fabric sounds more difficult than what it really is when you follow the right steps, which are to break the fabric down into different zones and distinguish between the light and shade zones. As I go through the different zones, see if you can identify them on the image. The highlight is the strongest area of light. The middle tone is a little darker than the highlight. The reflected light is the second darkest shadow that sits on the edge of the fold. The form shadow is the darkest area of the shadow. Now that you know the types of folds and understand the shading zones, let us put pencil to paper and shade fabric step by step. Step 1. Mark your movement. To start your drawing, mark the most prominent lines that show movement or direction. Place shadows on those lines. Step 2. Sketch the outlines. Create separation between light and shade areas. Begin shading, focusing on the shadows first. Step 3. Deepen the darkest shadow. Fill in the middle tones roughly to show a slight difference between the form shadow and the reflected light placed next to it. Pull out the highlights with an eraser. As you shade, use directional strokes while keeping parallel strokes in the background. Step 4. Evaluate. See if your sketch has enough contrast and do not be afraid to push the darks if needed. Reinforce the lights as well. Be sure to keep transitions between the values and adjust the edges to keep them soft. Fabric is fluid by nature, so it can't have hard edges, or it won't look realistic. Do not worry if you don't remember all of the theory we have just discussed. Remember, all of the summary notes and slides are available in your toolkit and would be really worthwhile to keep as a resource at your fingertips beyond this course. These will also help you prepare for your first assignment. Once your drawing accurately depicts the silhouette and details of your fashion design, rendering is the way by which you can convey information about the exciting and gorgeous fabric choices that help make your outfit unique. What does color rendering mean? In fashion design, rendering is just a drawing of the design and it lets you know what design elements and texture will be used. It paints a picture of what the finished product will look like for the viewer. Drawing is an artistic exercise that provides numerous mediums of expression. Many fashion designers who sketch specialize in one medium, while others prefer to work with a variety of different mediums. Drawing mediums can also be combined to create an even more expressive sketch. Regardless of the medium you choose, you should at least become familiar with the various mediums available. Rendering and recreating your fabric can help you visualize your design and analyze whether all the elements work together in harmony. There really are no real steps when it comes to drawing textiles and prints. It is all about layering different mediums and drawing techniques. Here are a few tips from the book Fashion Design Workshop, Stylish Step-by-Step Projects and Drawing Tips for Designers. Plaid. Use a marker or water-based paint to create your base color. Add vertical and horizontal lines with colored pencils, alternating between the colors. Tweed. Use marker or water-based paint to create your base color. Place cross-hatching all over the base color, alternating between color pencils. The key to this texture is adding a lot of layers. Denim. Use marker or water-based paint to create your base color. Use different shades of blue and grey colored pencils to add light cross-hatching over your base color. The key is to work with a sharp pencil so that the hatching reads as a woven texture. Tulle or lace. Choose 2 or 3 similar shades of colored pencil and create a diagonal cross-hatching pattern. Sharp pencils will help create a more delicate looking texture. Add flower details if you want to recreate lace. Satin or silk. Creating a shiny texture like satin is all about contrast. With marker or water-based paint, create a bold color and leave some white areas of varying widths in between as you move. add darker stripes to create more shade. Sequins, sparkle, or beading. Use marker or water-based paint to create your base color. Add lots of dots and circles using a fine liner. Use a white pen or Tipp-Ex to add stars and bursts of twinkle. In the next lesson, we will explore all things material. The lesson focuses on the basics of textile theory with a fun experiment at the end of the lesson that will make you feel like a scientist, a fashionable scientist. You do not want to miss this one. The idea of a fashion sketch is to give the viewer information about the garment. The more information you present, the better. Fashion illustrations are a great form of communication to convey fit, shape, color, texture, and print. A croquis is a quick sketch of a human body that serves as the template or blank canvas for a garment, usually drawn in a minimalistic style. Croquis drawings are the first step in bringing your fashion creations to life, transforming your flat sketch into a fashion figure. Drawing your design onto a fashion figure is not so much about your drawing skills, but about the ability to tell more with your fashion sketch. The purpose of the croquis is to provide a blank canvas for you to draw your design on. Drawing your garment onto a figure can further communicate your design to the viewer, whether it is a client or a pattern maker. I think of it as the blueprint for your designs. Croquis sketches outline the technical elements of a garment, including the fit, the shape, garment lengths, and that is all lengths, like sleeves and overall length of the garment, and placement of design details, like darts, pleats, pockets, and seams. It can also give the viewer an idea of fabric when rendered successfully. Originally, fashion figure sketches were exclusively used by fashion designers, which means that many of them have a very high fashion, stylized model-type body shape that sometimes looks more alien than human. A croquis is usually a very minimalistic drawing with only the most important detail marked, like the bust, waist, hips, and knees. These are guidelines for your design. You will also notice that these figures usually don't have any other detailed features like hands, feet, and faces. That is because it is less about the figure and more about the design of the garment. This makes sense, right? Because we are designers here, not artists specializing in realism. We specialize in clothing. You will notice that the body proportions for a croquis drawing is disproportionate to the human body. Figures are traditionally slender and legs are usually elongated to exaggerate height. The standard croquis figure's length is approximately 9 times the length of the drawn head, and we often refer to it as the 9-head figure, but this can vary depending on the designer's drawing style. The figure's length and simplicity of form help to display the garment with a dramatic effect. The design intent of the garment is thus exaggerated when displayed on an elongated scale, which helps display fantasy and ultimately advertise and sell your design better. We live in an age where the stick figure is not the ideal figure anymore and where all bodies are appreciated. #body positivity. Due to the body positive movement, we are seeing more diverse bodies in ads and on the runway. This is a great example of how the fashion industry reacts to the changing behavior of its consumers. With that said, feel free to evolve your croquis to be any shape and size you want it to be. There are many different croquis poses, but the purpose of a croquis is to showcase the garment, so it is in your best interest to choose a pose that best suits your design. Here are a few tips you can use to help you choose the most appropriate fashion croquis for your garment's design. When choosing a croquis template for a dress or skirt, you need to forget about bold, powerful poses because they do not communicate the nature of a dress. Instead, you may want to keep the legs of the model close together and the gesture delicate and flirty. Pick a pose that will let the dress and or skirt float and move. This pose will work well with a tight-fitting garment too. With tight clothing, specifically dresses and skirts, avoid croquis figures with legs spread or walking. If you want to showcase intricate details on a flowy dress or skirt, then you can consider using a template with legs spread a little more. When drawing pants or shorts, it is usually preferred to use a croquis figure that shows the legs from different angles. This will help showcase any hidden details you cannot always see from just the front. If you have pockets, it is always nice to draw the hands inside of them. When drawing shirts, jackets and coats, avoid poses in which the torso or upper body is covered too much by the model's arms. Find a template that will bring attention towards the top half of the figure. The most important part is finding a figure that best suits your design and your design and drawing style. When creating a collection, you can either use a variety of croquis figures or you can keep reusing one. Famous designer Marc Jacobs uses the same croquis template throughout a season to give pattern makers an even better idea of how the different garments are supposed to be structured. The consistency of croquis template helps pattern makers understand the shape, height, volume, and width of garments in comparison to one another. Since this is your first time in this course putting a garment onto a figure, try using an already existing croquis template. Choosing to work with a pre-made fashion croquis template also saves you a lot of time when designing a collection. There are many different croquis templates on the internet if you do a search, but I will also make one available in your toolkit. In the next module, we will learn how to draw our very own fashion croquis. To use a croquis, you need to follow the following steps. Find and save your croquis. Print out your croquis and trace your croquis. This can be done in one of three ways. 1. If you have a light box, place a blank page over template and lightly trace the figure onto the top page with a pencil. Most of us do not own a light box, so we must improvise a bit. Place blank page over printed template and put it up against a window. On a sunny day, you will be able to see the figure. The third option is to buy yourself some tracing paper and place it over the printed template and lightly trace the croquis figure onto tracing paper with a pencil. If you really want to, you can also make your own croquis using your body as a template. First, take a full-length photo of yourself wearing tight clothing so that you can see the outline of your body. Then, print it out and follow the same steps as before when it comes to tracing. Remember to add important detail like bust line, waistline, hip line, and knee line when creating your own croquis template. This exercise can tell you a lot about yourself, like what your body shape is and what the right style for your size and your shape is. Now you can translate the trends to your own shape and make alterations for it to look great on your body. Believe me, you will know when you see it on your croquis. There are 3 general factors to think about when you are drawing your design onto the fashion figure. These are design details, gravity, like folds and wrinkles, and fabric type. We have discussed all of these in this lesson. You now need to incorporate all of this into your design. After you have lightly traced your template, you can now draw your design in pencil onto the figure. Add in all the design details and folds. When you are happy with the look, you can now start to render your design with whatever medium you feel most comfortable with. When you have finished with the rendering, you can go over all the pencil lines with a fine liner. I use a 0.2 tip for my main lines and a 0.05 tip for the finer detail like stitching. The last step is to erase all the unnecessary lines. And there you have it, your very first Shaw Academy fashion figure. I have put all the examples together so that you can have a better idea of how the final image will look. First, let's look at my flat sketch. It is a dress, because you know I love my dresses, with quite a few design details. Let's start with the neckline. It is a V-neck, asymmetric wrap top. That's quite a mouthful, with pleated details on the shoulder line. I decided to go with the puff sleeve to create a balanced look since my bottom of skirt is also quite flared. Now let's look at my fashion figure. As you can see, I did not even do anything to the actual body because I want all of the attention to be on my outfit. I have used a combination of mediums. I used a marker as my base color and layered it to create shading. I have also used some cross-hatch details to resemble a woven texture like cotton. What do you guys think? Do you like my design? And do you think you will be able to create something like this? I think each one of you will absolutely own it. As a fashion designer, sketching comes with the job. It is a part that many are terrified of, but honestly, we are here to design clothes. Your figure does not need all the detail. Leave the hands and feet and face alone if it doesn't work for you. The key to becoming better is by practicing, and with practice, you will discover and develop your personal drawing style. Acquiring skills is an important aspect of learning and development. Self-improvement is achieved through constant learning and impacts every aspect of life, whether it be personal or professional. But in order to boost your career, broadening your skill set is key. At Shaw Academy, we believe that you can build your own credentials, design your own learning, and develop a multitude of skills. That should trigger you to start thinking about which membership option is best for you. We have 3, 6, or 12-month memberships. Or even better, sign up to become a lifetime member and have the ability to build on your resume while studying at your own pace. Or you can complete all the Shaw courses, giving you the power to broaden your horizons and acquire new skills you need to achieve your goals. But while doing serious things, such as achieving our goals, we can also do fun challenges along the way. Your challenge for today is to create your very first fashion figure using everything you learned. I want you to design a look, so it can be one garment or an outfit, and draw it onto your fashion croquis. You can either use the template from your toolkit, you can search for your own template on the internet, or you can create your own using your body as a reference. I want you to incorporate the necessary drawing and rendering techniques using any kind of medium. I would love to see your first fashion figure, so don't be shy. Please share it on your favorite social media platform using the hashtag #SureFashionFigure. Congratulations! You have finished lesson 5 of module 1. You are past the halfway mark. Yay! I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me. I really enjoy having all of you in my virtual classroom, and I hope you have lots of fun in between the learning. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you here for lesson 6. It is going to be a good one. Until then, as always, stay fashionable.